Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Finally, the season has arrived, and we can finally look ahead to a game. So we're going to bring in Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia. He's going to talk to us about this Eagles matchup and all the things we need to know about how the Patriots can try and get over on the Eagles. As advertised, here is Dave Zangaro, NBC Sports Philadelphia. He's been on the Eagles beat for 8 years. And let's jump right in. Phil's right there. You guys know him. Any sense at all of a post-Super Bowl hangover, Dave Zangaro?
I don't think so, but it's something that the coaching staff is aware of, and they've been trying to guard against it all summer. It was really funny. Literally the first practice of training camp this year, the Eagles had like 3-4 pre-snap penalties in a row. Nick Sirianni has a bullhorn at practice this year, and he just laid into them. It was a lot. And a few days later, I asked him if that was like a concerted effort on his part, and he played dumb. Like, I don't know. Like, that's just me. I don't think I was doing anything extra, but it was pretty clear. Like, he wanted to set a tone that, there's still a standard. They still have to climb these steps each day. And you guys have seen it. It's like, it's a tough thing. It's tough to win a Super Bowl or even to get there. And then to try to do it again is, it's really difficult. And I think there's just you want to fast forward and you want to skip steps. You just want to be in that game again. And they can't afford to do that. And I think that's kind of been Sirianni's message to these guys is if you have to use that loss as fuel, then do it, but don't let it consume you and don't think about getting to the end of the finish line. You got to worry about the steps along the race.
All right, Dave, it's a pretty good team you got there. How do the Patriots try to beat it? Where are they weakest? Where's their weak link if you had to pick one?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the Eagles defense, they lost 5 starters from last year. They lost both linebackers and both safeties. And even though the Eagles feel like they have some good pieces in those roles, I mean, that's the area of this defense you would want to attack, whether it's with your slot receiver, with the tight ends the Patriots have, because you look at, I mean, Nakobe Dean was a highly heralded pick. And when he was a 3rd-round pick, everyone thought he was a steal of the draft. He didn't play last year. I mean, he barely got on the field. So he's now the Mike linebacker. They brought in Zach Cunningham on August 6th, and he's now the starter next to him. So not a lot of depth either at linebacker. And then at safety, we don't even know who the second starter is as we're recording this interview. The first one is Reed Blankenship, who was an undrafted rookie last year out of Middle Tennessee State. So middle of the field is where you want to attack this team. Outside, you have Darius Slay, you have James Bradbury. Tough sledding there, but up the gut is where the Eagles are most susceptible.
That's great. That's good intel because right now I think the Eagles are seen as fairly impervious, mostly because nobody gets past their front 7 defensively. The Patriots have a dinged up and cobbled together, for the most part, offensive line at the moment. Their pieces just haven't been cohesive or on the field together and available during this training camp. So we look across at an Eagles pass rush that Bill Belichick says remains diabolical. Bill, let me hear that again.
Defensively, their front is a very dominant front. Best pass rush in front in the league by, I'd say, quite a bit, with good depth, and so they can roll those guys out of there pretty comfortably and bring in other guys that are just as explosive, dangerous. They've got a great combination of power and speed in the pass rush front.
So, Dave, when you're good like that up front, you don't have to really sweat how bad you are in the back, especially if you can get after the quarterback.
Yeah, and they still can. I mean, even it's funny we're talking about how good this line is. They lost Javon Hargrave, who is one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in the league, but they're still really good. They added Jalen Carter with the 9th overall pick. The hype around him is real. His teammates see it. And look, it's a tough position as a rookie to step in right away and be productive. You just don't see many defensive tackle rookies come into the league and light it on fire, but this guy could do that. I mean, he's been very impressive. They still have Hassan Reddick. They still have Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis. It goes on and on and on. It's an impressive group. Brandon Graham is like the forgotten guy.
Right.
They have Nolan Smith, the 1st-round pick. It's crazy the talent they have on their defensive line. The one thing I will say, Hassan Reddick, who's been their best pass rusher, had thumb surgery this offseason. He's going to play in week 1, but he's got it wrapped. He might not have the grip strength he normally does. So that's something to keep an eye on if you're looking for like a glimmer of hope against this D-line. Like I think that could hinder him a little bit, but if it's not him, it's probably someone else getting after the quarterback.
And I just wonder if you're the Patriots, this has got to be with Tom Brady in house. This has got to be an old Tom Brady game plan when they used to see JJ Watt or one of these other premier pass rushers, even though Philly's got, it feels like a dozen of them. This is a get the ball out of your hands as fast as humanly possible kind of game plan, right, Tom? Screens, quick game, RPOs, all that stuff. You can't let Mac Jones sit back there.
Yeah, frustrate the hell out of him. To me, it's got to be that. But do they have the guys to get available in the short area the way Edelman did, Amendola did, Troy Brown did? You know, can Demario Douglas be called upon to do that? Can Kendrick Bourne do that? Or do the Eagles get up and press? Which I sure as hell would. What's the impact of the new coordinators right now, especially specifically defensive coordinator Sean Desai?
Desai, yeah, that's interesting because Jonathan Gannon, like I think the staples of the scheme are going to be pretty similar, and it's kind of the way the league has gone in the last few years. Just try to avoid explosive plays, keep it in front of you. So I think there's some of that in Desai, but I do kind of suspect he'll be a little more aggressive than Gannon was. I mean, Gannon rarely pressed. It was really frustrating for Eagles fans to watch their corners just like 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. And in a game like this, where you think it might be quick passes, get the ball out, mitigate that pass rush, I'm curious to see if Desai does press a little bit more, if he is a little more aggressive, because that was the Jonathan Gannon's defense was good. Like statistically, it was very good. No one misses him here. Like in terms of Eagles fans, like they were pushing him out the door, telling Arizona to hire him. It was kind of a weird dynamic for a guy who led a really good defense, the second best defense in the league, according to like the old metrics. So they were good, but I think it was really personnel driven. At times they had great personnel on that side of the ball. This year it's a little weird because like I don't think the personnel is as good, but that shouldn't be the standard for Sean Desai. I think there are little things we'll be looking for along the season to know whether or not he's doing his job. And I think there will be at least some more wrinkles to this defense. It was kind of it was what it was last year, and it was really good because they had good players, but it wasn't too creative. So I think that's what people are looking for in Philly, is to see what Sean Desai does with a little bit of a different background. So then Brian Johnson on the offensive side of the ball picks up where Shane Steichen left off. Steichen now the coordinator in Indianapolis. It's kind of rare for a team to lose both of their coordinators to head coaching jobs in the NFL. I think the last time it happened was 94. Both 49ers coordinators left. But without Steichen, who was a really good play caller, that falls to Brian Johnson. Nick Sirianni does not call plays offensively. He stopped doing that midway through his rookie season. He likes to be kind of a more CEO coach on game days. So Brian Johnson, a little bit of an unknown in that area, ran the offense at Florida. His last year there as the offensive coordinator. He's been the quarterback's coach here for a couple of years, but that's still one of the questions we don't know the answer to. Will
they stay aggressive on fourth down? Phil and I have talked about this already, just the fact that Patriots have to defend 4 downs. If it gets to 4th and 3.
They will. And look, that's not even a Nick Sirianni thing. That wasn't even a Doug Peterson thing. That's an organizational philosophy. They lean into the analytics, and sometimes that can lead them astray, like it did in 2020 when they weren't as good and they still acted like they were as good. And they were like, yeah, we're going to run this offense out there. And you're like, well, that's not the offense that you had a couple years ago when you were so good and the aggressiveness made sense. But this offense is that good. And if this offense gets you into 4th and short, they're going to run a QB sneak out there and they're going to convert. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how they do it. That push sneak was not outlawed. So they're going to keep running it. They're going to keep running things off of it. It's a really hard play to defend because you have such good offensive linemen up front. And then you have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who his lower body is as strong as anyone in the league at that position. So they're going to play all 4 downs, and it does put pressure on defenses.
Dave, if you were Gerard Mayo and Steve Belichick and you're trying to call a defense that's going to give this offense, which is so talented and they've got everybody back and they could blow teams out. They're barely playing in the 4th quarter. I think Jalen Hurts had the lowest pass rate in football in the fourth quarters of games last year because they just didn't need to throw. The game was out of hand. The one game that I'm looking at from last year, and I'm curious if you remember this at all, is from basically mid-season. The Eagles won this game, but it was 17-16 against the Colts. And I'm wondering if there's anything the Colts did that we might see the Patriots try to do again, just going back through some of the numbers as best as I can. It looked like they played a fair amount of man-to-man. They played some zone as well. Was there anything about that game that was odd that gave the Eagles fits? Or is there anything this summer that you've watched that you say to yourself, okay, if a team's able to exploit this, their offense is going to have a hard time?
Yeah, that Colts game was toughest sledding of the year for sure for them last year. I think it was really good D-line play. And you're right, they mixed up their coverages a little bit. There's a danger in going heavy man against this Eagles team because you lose eyes on Jalen Hurts. And when you lose eyes on Jalen Hurts, he's taking off and he's picking up first downs with his legs. So I think the Patriots might have the personnel to spy him. I don't know if Belichick wants to do that, but we saw last year, that Pats defense got burned a little bit by Fields and Lamar Jackson on the ground. I think that has the potential to happen again. And the other problem with man coverage against this team, at least from what I saw with the Eagles during training camp, was that Jalen Hurts just trusts A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith so much. They really worked on their timing routes. The back shoulder throw has been there. So it's a frustrating thing for a DB when you're a man and you think you have tight coverage and it just doesn't matter. I know Darius Slay and James Bradbury were getting pretty frustrated all summer because they'd have these guys locked up and Jalen, his accuracy was much better. So I think D-line play can be helpful. The Eagles do have a new starting right guard. Jordan Mailata is the weaker of the two tackles, but he's still really good. I mean, I wouldn't waste great pass rush snaps on the other side of the line. Lane Johnson's not giving anything up. So that's maybe the one area, but it's still a really good offensive line. And if Hurts has time back there, I think it's gonna be a tough matchup.
Hey, Dave, I saw that Sean Desai said that he has leaned on former Patriots assistant Matt Patricia heavily this week in preparation. Had a lot of good things to say about Matt Patricia. You think that's going to have any kind of an impact? I mean, it kind of has to. I mean, he knows Mac at least.
Yeah, he knows a lot about
but he knows
everything up there. Yeah, I mean, I think it'll help. I think sometimes that stuff gets a little overblown because they still have to go out there and do it. It's like it's one thing to know what Mac Jones is going to do. It's another thing to stop it. But I think it'll help. And they lean on him like they lean on anyone who has some intimate knowledge of the other team they're about to face. I think it has to help, but I don't think it's like a magic cure-all when you're playing the Patriots to have Matt Patricia in the building. But he's been a pretty good addition.
What has to happen for the Eagles to start the season 0-1?
I think if you're looking at when their defense is on the field, I think attacking the middle is where we talked about that. That's where they're most vulnerable. I think that's where they might give up some big plays. You have some question marks on that side of the football. And also if they don't stop the run. I mean, their whole defense is predicated on stopping the run so you can get into these known pass situations and pin your ears back. If they don't do that, then it makes things a little trickier. And then when the Eagles are on offense, I guess the offensive line doesn't hold up and they're under pressure. Jalen Hurts doesn't feel comfortable. I have a harder time seeing that falter than I do the Eagles defense, but it's possible. I mean, a Bill Belichick defense is always going to be tough. They're always going to throw different things at you than you expect, especially in the first game without any tape out there this season. So I think there are some concerns there, but I think the Eagles offense should be in decent shape.
We got a prediction, Dave?
I haven't figured out the number yet. I'm going to pick the Eagles in this game. I think they're the better
Cough
team.
it up.
I don't have one yet. I think it might be a lower scoring game than people expect, but I'd probably have the Eagles winning somewhere in the 20s.
22-17. I love
your
22.
score, Tom?
No one ever comes up with 22.
22 is a weird number.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to have a moral victory Monday up here. I can feel it already. Dave Zangaro, thank you so much. We appreciate you a great deal, and we will see you on Sunday for Tom Brady Day.
I'm excited.
Hey, get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can be on everything from spreads to player props and so much more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. That's FanDuel.com/NSBO. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Massachusetts. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Hope is here. Gambling helpline ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dave Zangaro. Good stuff. And I do want to make mention of the elephant in the room for those of you watching on television or on your tablets or whatever. Remember during the pandemic, they used to do the rate the room for people's Zoom setups? We're going to give Phil a 1. Okay. Usually it's tight. It's put together. Today, it's early in the morning. He's got multiple children to get off to school. He's squinting. This is the second time this week he's been miffed at me. Go ahead, Phil.
I feel like it's at least a 3. I mean, it's not my best, but I can't even get a 3. I got my neon blue. I got the peacock. I got the jersey on. I know that has nothing to do with the room, but I'm hoping it helps with the score.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I've been thinking, Phil, if the Eagles are going to use all 4 downs on offense, and the Patriots are on occasion, if they do not get a positive play on first down, see, that's the thing about an offense that's as diverse as the Philadelphia Eagles is. You can be in 2nd and 9. You can be in 2nd and 11. You can be in 3rd and 7 and still say, we have an app for that. We have an answer. If the Patriots are in 2nd and 9, we don't know what their answer is. So you might be in 3rd and 8 and you're like, okay, this is a don't F up down and get it to, who's that punter? Bryce. Get the ball to Bryce. Meanwhile, the Eagles are going to use all 4 downs. So this is... it's simply going to be about mathematics in some cases. Do you agree with that oversimplification?
Yeah, I think they're going to be aggressive is what I'm expecting from the Patriots. I don't think just because they go for it on 4th down, you can alter your 3rd down approach all that much because they're so explosive. And that's really where you get all your designer stuff and your plays where you're feeling like you've got a shot at an explosive play on the defensive side of the ball or a loss of yardage on the defensive side of the ball. So they should make the most of those opportunities, but you're right. They also have to know if it doesn't go to the extreme end of the positive for them and they're looking at 4th and 3, those defensive guys have to know they're probably going to be staying on the field.
Phil, this has been something that's kind of been a niggling little agitation of mine all off season. And that's whether or not the Patriots are truly what we think is an elite defense. The further you get away from New England, as is always the case and always will be the case, the less realistic and granular the analysis. Doesn't matter if it's Tom Brady and his future or Bill Belichick and his future or how good Mac Jones is or how good the Patriots defense is. The further you get away, the fuzzier and foggier become the details as to what's really going on here. And I hear many people across the country identify the Patriots as a top 5 defense, top 3 defense, one of the best defenses in football. And I just don't think that the evidence is available to prove that, certainly based on last year. Like personnel-wise, you can trot out a number of players who are really, really good. But they have one Pro Bowl player in Matthew Judon. They have a possible one in Kyle Duggar. statistically last year, they rolled up some outstanding numbers against some really horrible quarterbacks. Over the last 3 years, they're 3-13, as I've pointed out, against playoff-bound teams. And the 3 wins were against the playoff-bound Titans in 2021, who didn't have Derrick Henry and A.J. Brown. And 2 years ago, was in the wind against Buffalo on a day that Josh Allen couldn't throw. And then it was last year against the Miami Dolphins team that was down to Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, they're not that far from 0-16 against playoff-bound teams. And that, to me, is because they cannot defend against a Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. They can't defend against a Josh Allen. They can't defend against a Lamar Jackson. They can't defend against a Justin Fields. They're overwhelmed by so many players when the offense is diverse, which makes me hesitate to call this Patriots defense elite. Your thoughts after I've just talked for 90 seconds.
I guess the question would be, how many defenses, in your opinion, are elite? I think when you're starting to have that conversation, it's what is this group relative to the rest of the league, right? So relative to what we're used to seeing here in New England, and we've seen some truly elite defenses. I'm talking about way back, not even the 2019 Boogeymen, who statistically were elite, but in a similar fashion, rolled up amazing numbers against bad competition. No, I think the national folks, and I've heard them do this, and I think it's valid to a degree, because again, relative to the rest of the league, some of the numbers were really impressive. They were number 1 in weighted DVOA. So that's cobbling everything together. And you do factor in the opponent in those DVOA scores. And that means weighted means towards the end of the season, how well were they performing? I actually thought, Tom, they did put up representative efforts against the Bills. It was like the Bills were scoring 35 on them, and the Bengals as well, surprisingly to me. And in both of those games, you had an offense that couldn't stay on the field. And so I think in some ways, this defense has the potential to be better than it was last year, even though the competition is going to get better this year because of Bill O'Brien, funny enough. The offense is going to give them a little bit of time to rest and recharge on the sidelines, when I know there were weeks last year where they were looking at it and they wouldn't say it with a microphone in front of their face, Tom, but if you cornered somebody on the defensive side, they knew their offense was putting them in bad positions on a weekly basis. So they should be better, at least when it comes to that, just having a little bit fresher legs to be able to compete against the best of the best.
Yeah, see, that's a good conversation. That's a good, mature football conversation. See, I'm not over here saying they're not elite. I'm not over here saying they're bad. I'm just over here saying that I think they're a little overrated based upon their results. And you did a good job of talking me off the ledge and giving me some intel as to why I should look at it differently. Because when you do think about that Buffalo season finale that they lost, preventing them from, against all odds, getting to 9-8. Think about that. In that game, it's 2 kickoff returns that puncture their bubble. Now, I will look at the December 24th game against the Bengals and say, I'm not buying. That game was an aberration. It was not that close. It was 22-0 at halftime. The Bengals literally stopped playing. They were home putting together train tracks in their minds for Christmas morning. And the Patriots got a ricochet touchdown to Scotty Washington to bring themselves back into that football game. And I think they also got a lazy-ass pick 6 in that game. So, but again, those are defensive plays, Tom. Those matter. Those count. They have to be as good defensively. But you're right. What is a shutdown defense anymore? Is it a defense that you base it on points per game, yards per game, third down, situational what? And for me, I think third down and situational defense has got to be different for the Patriots. And the main reason is the Patriots like to make teams matriculate the ball down the field, lay back, maybe they'll make a mistake. And with a team like the Eagles specifically here, if you want to do that, eventually they're going to actually just put their cleat in your sternum and walk over you because they are too diverse offensively.
Yeah, Tom, they make you pick your poison. Okay, do you want to load the box and stop this run game that is featuring the best offensive line in football and this tank of a quarterback who's a great athlete and will run through arm tackles with absolutely no issue? Or do you want to drop guys into coverage and do you want to help your young corners? Say it's Christian Gonzalez on A.J. Brown and Jack Jones on Devontae Smith. I would say both of those guys at various points in the game, because you can't do it all game, but at various points in the game are going to need some help. So you're going to put a safety over the top of both of those guys and then be lacking in the box against the run with this guy at quarterback and with the running backs that they have. And I know they think the running backs, never mind Jalen Hurts, the running backs are a problem, Tom. Kenneth Gainwell was a receiver at Memphis, but this guy is a positive yardage machine. Another guy who runs through contact, a guy that the Patriots, I know, believe is a problem. So you're going to have to choose one or the other. How are you going to make them get the ball down the field? Are you okay with the 5-yard slant, the 6-yard slant, the RPO after RPO after RPO, the 10-play drive down the field that might take up 8 minutes on the clock? And maybe it still results in a touchdown. Or are you going to go all out, bring the pressure that we saw all summer from Gerard Mayo and Steve Belichick, all summer long, blitzing their own offense?
Yep.
Really interesting to watch day in and day out. Are they going to try that against the Eagles and just live with the fact that, as Dave was telling us, Jalen Hurts might just loft it up to one of his great receivers and trust them to win their one-on-ones? Not a bad gamble if you're that guy. That might be the world they choose to live in as well. So neither is a great option if you're asking me.
I think they should blitz. I think they should blitz their faces off. I think they should hurry up Jalen Hurts every opportunity they get, because that'll be the equalizer. You don't want him having time to have Devontae Smith in particular, who I just think is beyond. And I was talking about, oh, he's too light, he's not going to be good. Yeah, watch a college football game one time, dummy. So I look at them and just say, I would rather speed Jalen Hurts up than have him standing back there and throwing slants and overs and everything else, and having the Patriots have pressure on their back end, which is good. But we've seen them, they can miss tackles. Early in the year, you're not tackling to the ground in training camp. We saw a missed tackle that was the key play in the opener last year against Miami, where their best defensive player on the back end, Kyle Duggar, missed a tackle and turned into a 4th and 7 touchdown for Jalen Waddle. Devontae Smith can do that same thing to you. You don't want that. I'm not going to ask you for a final record, Phil, for the New England Patriots. I'm not going to ask you for a prediction either. We're going to get to that later, and you can see NBCSports.com to get that intel. But I am going to ask you, what's their record and the results over the first 4 games? I'll go first if you like.
I've got them at 1-3. I already did my 17 game by game prediction, Tom. I know you watched. I know you read it. I know you consumed it. I know you committed it to memory. I've got them 1-3 to start the year.
I have them at 2-2. They're going to start out 1-1. Then they're going to take care of business against the Dallas Cowboys, but not the New York Jets. I'm all over the place. I've had them sweeping the Jets. So we're going to put a cork in this. We have so much coverage. Phil, what was on the next bets this week?
Oh, we've got futures gambling. We're earning you some money just by listening to our podcast with Giles and Robbie Buckets. And then we've got Dane Brugler talking to us about a wild week 1 in college football and some Patriots fits that he's already ID'd.
All right. We'll have pre-game live and post-game live on the day of the game. Phil will be down there. Give Tom Brady a high five and a pat on the posterior for me. And folks, we can't wait for the season to start. We thank you because we get so much really good feedback on this podcast, and we get so many great numbers, both on YouTube and in downloads and listens. So we really appreciate you. We really mean that. And from the bottom of our hearts, let's have a good year. All right. That's what we lift all them weights for.